Good afternoon. I've been with Siemens ever since the software movement started years ago with the acquisition of UGS. I'm now in just starting my 10th year as CEO of Digital Industry Software. And I'm excited to be here. I'm excited because I get a chance to talk to you about what we've done to build the progress we've made in building the world's leading industrial software portfolio. We did this with a very clear game plan of organic growth and inorganic growth. From that, we've built a larger addressable market for what we can go after with our software, but also we've set ourselves up very, very well to be the leader for industrial automation. Over the next few minutes, I want to talk about the value and the benefit that creates for our customers. If you think about our customers today, they really have relentless pressure in the product development process. You got new products, they've got electronics and software being added at a rapid pace. They've got to deal with the features in those products that come from that addition, as well as sustainability requirements, regulatory requirements, we've got supply chain concerns. All of these things are making it very, very difficult for our customers. And some would argue, they would say, let's try to simplify that complexity. But that's not realistic. That complexity is increasing. In fact, if anything, it's growing very, very rapidly in what we're doing. So we take a different approach. If the complexity is there, why can't we help our customers use that complexity as a competitive advantage? And the way they do that is by using Siemens Xcelerator. We help them create a digital enterprise. And let me talk about what we mean by that. Siemens Xcelerator, it's not just a brand. It's the backbone of our strategy. One of the first components of this is the comprehensive digital twin. You heard Roland talk about this earlier today. I just want to say, if you've been around this for a while, the digital twin is not a new concept. It's been around for a long, long time. It really was 3D models that went together to make sure parts go together properly. The holes line up, there's no interferences. And while that was necessary, it wasn't sufficient. What's really happened over the last 5 to 10 years is the idea of digital twins that are more based on functional characteristics of the product. Is it going to operate the way I expect it to operate? Is it going to work in the field the way I want it to? And to do that, you can't do that then with just mechanical components. You need software, electronics. You need manufacturing engineering, automation, how you're going to build this in the factory. You need all those pieces. Why do you need those pieces? Because the value that we create is the value of linking the real to the digital. The closer I can make that relationship for the customer, the more value it brings. Because think about it. Now they can move very quickly and make decisions in confidence. And all that complexity we spoke about, think how fast they can move through that when they're using Siemens Xcelerator and their competition is not. So truly a competitive advantage in the way they would work. The next part of this is what we talk about with lifecycle intelligence. For AI to really work, its power depends on trusted data. This data's got to be accurate, it's got to be available, it's got to be well managed. Teamcenter, our proven PLM product, leading product in this space, is the place our customers go for that trusted data. That's where they go. And it's also kind of the core to the data fabric of what we talk about in the investment we're making here, which Ravi will talk about later and Roland referenced earlier today. Vazi, sorry, will reference later and what Roland talked about earlier. We also have adaptive operations. What do I mean by this? Oftentimes, software companies will create a solution for a small, medium enterprise, and when that enterprise grows, they make them switch to a different tool because it's not scalable, can't go. Or what they have on the cloud is different than the product that they have on the desktop. We took a much different approach here. We did a lot of investment because we don't want our customers to have to go through some revolution every time they want to move from large to small, cloud to the desktop. We have one seamless transition we use. You can start with this any level, and we have the data compatibility all the way through, whether you're in the cloud, the desktop, small to large. And I'll talk about that a little bit later, as what that means to our customers. So how do we do this? For the last 15 years, we've had a clear game plan, like a series of merger and acquisitions to kind of build this out. Now, this is overall Siemens, all of software that we've done. We did this to really create this leadership in industrial software. But I'd like to take a few minutes just to talk about what some of those expansion areas mean for our customer. As I mentioned before, electronic systems are growing rapidly with our customer. You've got this convergence of mechanical design, electronics, software all coming together, And as AI is being put into more and more products, it's driving that process even faster in the way our customers work and the way they think. And so how do we help in this transformation? Teamcenter, the most proven, most scalable PDM tool in the world, is now expanding. Because we're taking it from discrete manufacturing, where we've had that presence for decades with Teamcenter, and now moving it into the EDA space. And so now what's happening is you have companies like Micron, Intel, new startups like Rapidus in Japan that are using Teamcenter for semiconductor lifecycle data management. So the same value we provided for years in the discrete space, we're taking in to the EDA space and have a really good success with this. What it's helping our customers do is move a lot faster through their R&D process and cut their R&D costs, but they've got a managed process now, just like we did with discrete manufacturing over the last couple of decades. Another key growth area is purpose-built semiconductors. You know, if you really look at most of the world's phones, watches, smartwatches, the vast majority are built with our software. Designed, manufactured, built with our software. But these customers, and as well as many other industries right now, are having to really optimize their products. They optimize this by building their own semiconductors. So what that does for us, that drives usage of our software. In our EDA space, we have two products, Tessent and Calibre. They are the gold standard of doing the validation of what you do in integrated circuit manufacturing and production. So that's helping us grow that business because you now have customers advancing and growing that market by building their own integrated circuits. Another key growth area for us is the idea of hardware-software compatibility. This is a big challenge for our customers. When I talk to them, it's an integration nightmare for them. And what's happening is you can constantly keep changing the software very late in the product development cycle. The problem with that is then you assume the software is the issue. Well, it's not the software generally, in most cases. It's the software, but it's how it interacts with the processor, the network, the rest of the digital twin. How do you make sure this thing's going to work and really get it right? And so our playbook that we've executed was specifically built to address these kind of complex problems. Again, moving through that complexity a lot easier than anyone else. And you know, when others couldn't see the potential, they couldn't see the potential of bringing together EDA and PLM, we did. And now the rest of the competition is trying to catch up with what we've built years ago. Another place we're leading is industrial AI. We intend to define this market and what it really means for our customers. We're applying it to design and simulation tasks. And if you look at these turbine blades, for example, or this turbine blade, this thing operates in extreme conditions. It's operating in an environment that's above its melting point. So think about it, it's operating in a place above its melting point. So you've got to cool this thing very efficiently. And for years, customers have used our product to do simulation of these turbine blades. The problem is you do one, it's very timely, very costly to build that out. Using AI now, with SimCenter, our CAE solutions for simulation, we can do this much more rapidly. We can do 1,000 blades at the time you were doing one previously. Now think about that. If your competition's doing 1,000 blades in the time you do one, how long before you're disrupted? So you can see why this is such an attractive market for us. Customers are all over this, wanting to know how they can move faster in this space. The other thing we did was we combined the CAE tools from Altair with our existing tools. We're expanding the market. Here's how we're expanding the market. Most times, those kind of problems were reserved for the PhDs, the experts in the company. With the tools we have now, we can take them and apply them to every engineer, and they're able to do this simulation and move much faster with what they're doing. So again, expanding our market as we go. Another example is Rolls-Royce. They've been a customer of ours for years, designing their aircraft engines with us. But like many large companies, they've got data all over the place. Data in silos, it was hard to find the data, hard to leverage it. So we worked with them. We used Teamcenter Accelerator to set up the environment for them, the digital enterprise, to be able to manage this data. So now we can look at the engineering functional data, the manufacturing data, we can look at the performance engineering data. We put that in a closed loop process. So now all of that information can feed back to the design and the manufacturing process for continuous improvement. But here's what's really cool about that now. If you've got the data that we provide through all of our PLM tools, my colleagues in automation run all their factories as well. So we've got the information around the PLCs, the sensors, the edge devices, and we can take all that data and bring it together. Once we have that data, we can start doing things with agentic AI, where I can say, look, I need you to summarize the status of the turbine blade production that's going on right now. It analyzes what's going on, sees the issues that are there, automatically identifies the issues, maps them to maintenance records, all the other information we have in Teamcenter, for example, and it comes back with a proposed fix for you. And then it can actually create the maintenance ticket, drive the whole process all the way through. This is where it really gets exciting for our customers when we talk about what could happen with AI. And we're doing this already in many of our accounts, and we're really just at the start of where we need to be. Now, if we combine this information with Altair and their RapidMiner capability for data science, you can see how we can start leading the way in industrial automation and industrial AI, all the work we can do with our software. This is how we lead the way. So these are just a few examples of some of the things we're doing with our customers and the advantage they can use by using complexity as a competitive advantage. So 4 years ago, I stood up in front of all of you and I explained that we're making the SaaS transformation. I'm proud to talk about where we are right now, although I think we've covered it between Roland and Ralph. They talked a lot about this, so I'll go through fairly quickly. But look, we said we're going to be at a 10% ARR through the period. You can see we're well above that. We continue to do very well with the process. As Ralph said, we committed to 40% cloud ARR. We'll be very close to 50, so we're 1 year ahead of schedule on that. But the one thing that wasn't talked about, I think, is also extremely important, is we had to go to every single customer and open up the contract to redo the contracts to deal in a SaaS environment. And any of you knowing the sales process, when you open up that contract, you start all kinds of new discussions. We've done that. And so we talk about being 80% or whatever through this transition. A big part of that was getting our contracts set up with our customers. Now that we've done that, it really sets us up for that high-performing growth that was referenced earlier in the day about some of the things we see in our transformation. We also had a transformation that occurs when we talk about recurring revenue. To be fair, even going into this, we had a large amount of our revenue that was subscription-based. And for those of you that understand revenue recognition and subscription, you can still recognize a big portion, a fair amount up front, and then the rest is ratable. But we keep working on this. What we've done is to make sure that we can make more of our revenue recurring. We did that in two ways. One is we reduced and eliminated most of the perpetual license software contracts to go to these SaaS recurring revenue models. The second thing we did was steadily reduce our services as a percentage of revenue. We want to make sure that we don't keep growing the service business, and we've kept that very flat, even though all of our other growth, as you saw, is well above, in the double-digit range. So we expect our recurring revenue to remain above 80% as we go forward. We also said a key metric for us was to grow our small, medium enterprise business. 87% of our new SaaS customers are coming through small, medium enterprise. We've been very, very good for years putting Teamcenter into large accounts. Now we can take Teamcenter X into the smallest of accounts and be able to have a path for them to grow as they go. Companies like Cobot, that's one of the reasons they select us, is we see this growth path that you've got. And I can't stress this enough, is what I said earlier. Cloud to desktop, small to large, seamless growth path. That's a unique capability in this industry. And we spent a lot of time and effort to make sure we did that. We didn't go buy a bunch of cloud companies just to have a cloud solution and then not have any compatibility with the rest of our portfolio. We worked very hard to make sure we've got that aligned. And then as far as our overall revenue, you can see where we were in FY20. We have good growth to get to where we are in FY25. However, you have to realize we did that in the middle of this SaaS transformation. So that had a little bit of a negative effect, obviously, on the overall growth. Really, we're coming out of that because, as most of you know, it's really just a mathematical model, really, as you come out of this when you get through the transformation in SaaS. But with that, you can see that we just crossed over the €6 billion revenue mark in software. Still roughly a third of our business is EDA. The other thing that's quite interesting, well, first of all, this also only includes 6 months of Altair and 3 months of Dotmatics in these numbers, so you can see that'll advance as we go forward. But the simulation portfolio that we have now together with what we had before with Altair and our own pieces is generating over €1 billion annually for us. So you can see it really underscores the impact of the moves that we've made in a very, very attractive market. So speaking of these acquisitions, since I've been in this job, I think we're close to 40 acquisitions that I've done in the job. Now, some of these are extremely small, tuck-ins, few people, whatever, to build out that portfolio. But others are larger. Overall, the vast majority are green, which is almost unheard of in the software space. We've done a really good progress in these acquisitions, and the same thing with Altair. Altair right now, we're right on the game plan that we have to live up to and how we measure ourselves on this acquisition. We're actually ahead of plan on cost synergies, well ahead in time in what we've done in execution here. But the more important part of this is our customers are excited about what we're doing. They see this integration. We're winning new business in our existing accounts, and we're winning new accounts because they see the vision of what we put together. Same thing with Dotmatics. We're very early, but so far right on the plan that we said we would do. And the same thing here. It's really this idea of this comprehensive digital twin, as Roland mentioned earlier, going from the initial drug discovery design to production. Our customers are excited about that. And we have no intention of slowing down with the growth that we've talked about here. We want to take more than our fair share of the digital market expansion that Roland referenced earlier. The reason I say it's so important with Dotmatics, just like the market and our customers underestimated what it meant to bring PLM and EDA together, we think there's the same opportunity with Dotmatics. And why do we say that? First of all, this isn't new to us, this space. We've done medical device design with my software for years. We run the manufacturing execution software in many of these companies. My colleagues run the automation for these factories as well. And so when we see that, we see a market that looks a lot like discrete manufacturing did 20 years ago, meaning unintegrated applications, not an enterprise layer like we have with Teamcenter. And that's exactly our opportunity, is to integrate, keep building this, and build that enterprise layer like we did so successfully with Teamcenter. And we can bring that forward. So we see a lot of opportunity, not only for organic growth, but also, as Roland mentioned earlier, the idea of additional acquisitions that could help build out this space for us. Attractive market, we're excited about it, and I'm going to let my colleagues, Axel and Suzanne, come up and tell us a little bit more. So thank you.